Hey guys, welcome back. Another unpopular opinions in Pokemon number 12. Here we are, 12 episodes in. Still unpopular, still opinions. Make sure to leave some in the comments below if you have any. I'm accumulating some, and maybe we'll do a separate episode just on those. Or we'll tack them in when we have a little bit of a slower episode or slower week. Try and put these out once a week. Thanks for tuning into those. Make sure to check out Sacari. He's the creator of this thread on efour. He's on YouTube as well. I'll put the link in the description. Let's get into some here. We have Double Felix 921 who says, here's another for y'all. I may prefer buying an ungraded card over a graded one of the same condition if the photos and description are good enough. I don't think I really have any preference on that. It's usually going to be determined by price. If they both look like they're in roughly the same condition. Why? The slab hides the condition. I can't tell if it meets its own personal standards for my binder collection. Even sellers often can't tell if scratches are on the card or the case. I have bought a lot of high grade PSA cards that were a full 2 grades lower than my personal preference grade. Significant silvering on the edges and scratches on hollows, and are not that rare in Jungle PSA 9s, for example, at least in the copies that have ended up in my hands. Seeing the prices of some of these set cards in graded versus ungraded, I think I am not the only one. So it depends. I found many cards that were graded and in a better price for the same condition. It just depends what's available. And I just go based on that. I don't care if it's in a case or not. It only takes a couple minutes to crack one out. So if you're looking for binder cards, keep your mind open. I mean, they probably go a little bit easier on the silvering for stuff like Jungle, because it is on pretty much all of them. So in reference to that, I guess you can kind of assume that it's going to be there. All right, next. Niche says, unpopular opinion, if you refuse to buy a CGC purely because of the label, then you're just buying the brand and not the card. I don't know. If you're buying anything that's graded, you're typically buying the grade just as much as you're buying the card. I've seen way too many posts recently just flooded on my Facebook every time I look at my feed. There's somebody that's asking to buy slabs. Apparently they don't care what's in those slabs. They just want graded cards because people think that graded cards are better than regular cards. What do we have here? Ash says, Pokemon card art is bad. In my opinion, way worse than most other big TCGs. I would disagree. For such a big franchise, it's embarrassing. So, I mean, you got to keep in mind that Pokemon art has to stay Pokemon art. Which is kind of why the Pokemon trading card game online or live, it's weird that they don't use more Pokemon style art for even your customizable character. I don't understand why they would ever, when they have the right to use their IPs, their characters and stuff like that, why they don't use those. But it's certainly weird. So, oh look, a Pokemon doing a pose that has been done in hundreds of other cards in a generic background. So cool. So the generic background thing, I think, was a thing earlier on, especially in the WotC days. You'd see a lot of Pokemon just slapped on a background. You see that a little bit in the like Diamond and Pearl kind of era. Not so much anymore. Even the commons and uncommons usually have backgrounds, beautiful backgrounds that are designed for the actual Pokemon. We've kind of gone over that a million times at this point on the channel. MTG releases 1,000 plus new cards every single year. It's super hard for me to find a single art that is either boring or bad. So you can't really compare Magic the Gathering because you're not going to have a Squirtle that's getting like warped into a vortex with its head being pulled off. It's a different franchise, a different audience, and a lot of the really cool artwork aspects of Magic the Gathering don't really transfer over. So you can't really have anything gruesome. As much as some people think that, like, oh, I had Pokemon when I was a kid, so now I want like brutal Pokemon. Artwork, not really a thing. I think maybe you need to take a look at some more of the Pokemon artwork to truly appreciate it, especially the modern stuff. Also, Christopher Rush did the Mewtwo, although that seems like it was on a background that wasn't necessarily designed for the Mewtwo, but very cool nonetheless. In Pokemon, oh boy, good luck finding ones that are actually nice. Disagree. You can take a look. There's a ton of really nice artwork in Pokemon. You just have to get over the fact that it's not going to be like a witch with skeletons all around it. It's going to be Pokemon, so it's a whole different beast. With that said, there are exceptions for sure, but in most cases they come in the form of either promos or higher rarities. Well, typically, yes, you would want to put the better artwork or the bigger artwork on the higher rarities, so to create sort of a chase. But I don't know. I disagree with this as well, because you have commons and uncommons in Modern that are beautifully done, and regardless of how hard they are to pull, you can get 10 of them in a booster box or something. Alright, Zorlaw says, unpopular opinion, the holo rares from EX Ruby Sapphire, EX Sandstorm, and EX Dragons are or should be the true chase cards of those sets, not the EXs. I mean, the highest rarity is typically going to be the biggest chase. Also playability, if you're going to go back in time and open these boxes. That value kind of transfers to now, so you have to keep that in mind. With some of the prices, if people played with a certain card more often than not, and it was reasonably hard to get, more of them are going to be in damaged condition from that play, which is still a small number relative to the entirety of the amount of cards printed, I'm sure. But also people are going to be looking for them if they want to make vintage decks, so that's going to skew the prices a little bit. So he says, I just don't understand why I say an EX Dragon Meg Cargo EX is worth as much as EX Dragon Torkoal Holo. So, I mean, it's also the gimmick at the time. So people wanted the EXs because EXs were new and exciting, just like people want the alternate arts now and the VMAXs. So, higher rarity is gonna be chase, and then typically the artwork and everything, the border makes them feel more special. There we go. There are literally more than 2x as many Meg Cargo EXs in existence, and Meg Cargo EX is like the 8th Meg Cargo card. So I don't know if that's justification for it, and I don't know how how many exist. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure the Meg Cargo EX was also playable. So that could play a role in it. I don't think it matters how many Meg Cargos there are. If it's an EX, and that was the thing at the time. I also think, I can't remember, but I think maybe the EXs were also harder to pull in those early days, and then gradually, as the sets went on, they became more per box on average. So you got to take that all into consideration. It's not just the fact that Meg Cargo versus Torkoal and more Meg Cargos came out. Dirge says the main series games should go back to 2D. I would disagree. I think it would be really cool to have more of like an anime style, something similar to like a Tales game or a Dragon Quest or whatever. I guess it's not too far off from like a Dragon Quest the way it is now, but something more like a Tales game, and actually have cutscenes that are done by the same art team and voice actors as the anime. I think that would be absolutely mind-blowing. But 3D is good. All right. Chromatic Lantern. It's a little bit hard to read there, where the division is in the names. I'm not sure I've seen this mentioned yet, but the rainbow rares and gold cards from more modern sets are just absolutely hideous. These clearly look like a last-ditch effort from a creative team that have run out of ideas for card designs. Actually, as I'm thinking it through, this may be a popular opinion. So I'd say this may be like semi-popular opinion. I know kids especially are like crazy about the rainbow rares and gold cards. Mostly the rainbow rares. It does something for them. It's like pixie sticks for for kids these days. Yeah, I don't know. I think they should have retired the rainbow rares. And then the gold cards, I don't know, like it's cool to have like a secret rare version of a lot of the trainer cards and some of the Pokemon that are playable from the previous set. I think that's kind of cool. And where they're shiny as well also adds a little something to it. But yeah, I think the rainbow rares should have been replaced with alternate arts. I think I've said that many times at this point, but that would be my decision if I was making the calls at the Pokemon Company. Unfortunately, I'm not, so we're gonna get more of them. I guess the rainbow rares are slightly different with like the weird glitter pattern that's in them compared to Sun and Moon, but the sets are too large as well. So if you're gonna cut something, I think those put those out of their misery and let them just be a Sun and Moon thing where they can be special later on when you look back. Gus says the secret rare Charizard from Stormfront is a nicer artwork than the original and base set. I would disagree. I know it's very similar, but I think I like the base set one more, even if you took the nostalgic element out of it. I have both, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's a little bit too much, and maybe just the fact that it's almost like a reprint, sort of. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of reprints. But yeah, new art, new Charizard. I'd rather see a new Charizard than a similar to base set Charizard or base set Charizard in evolutions or whatever. Sad Pokeboy says, I suspect this is an unpopular opinion. The PSA bright red border around the label and detracts a little from the card. So I don't know. I think this is silly to like put so much hate or love into certain labels from certain companies over others. You would think that if you're getting cards graded that you'd be more concerned with how consistent they are, but I don't know. You see this all the time. People are like, oh, I hate the label for this company, so I'm going to grade with another one. I mean, it's up to you. It's your card if you want to get it graded with whoever you want to get it graded with. But yeah, I don't know. I think grading's overrated anyway, as you all know. But yeah, do what you got to do. If you don't like a certain company's label or how they grade or how sketchy they are, because they're all pretty sketchy, then don't grade, or grade with whichever one you think is the least criminal. All right, Jared's challenge says, let's get back to the basics, shall we? Grades are overrated. I agree. I would say that condition is not overrated, if that's directly correlated, unless you get up to a certain extent where, I mean, paying 10x for something that has slightly less white on a little corner is not really my thing. But if people want to have the best of the best, the mintest cards in existence, then sure, go for it. Personally, I'm not going to let that those little flaws in a card detract from my enjoyment for them, and certainly not going to pay the extra money for them. I'd rather have more other cards than one really nice condition card. Lisa, I think that's, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Lisa Nagy. The hype for Target cereal box containers that hold ETBs is weird. Yeah, I would agree. I remember it was people were going to Costco and buying them all and then reselling the cereal box containers. So they're just plastic containers that fit the Elite Trainer boxes rather well. And with the recent influx of people that want to collect Elite Trainer boxes, I think largely due to the fact that the booster boxes got too expensive. It was easier to just collect the ETBs. A little bit more financially viable, I guess, if you just started collecting sealed product or collecting sealed product, because you're probably just looking to flip it at some point. We've seen a lot of stuff get dumped back into the market with people that are sealed collectors. So yeah, this is kind of funny that someone found a cereal storage box, plastic container, like Rubbermaid or like resealable container that fit them. So everyone was chasing those down as a cost-effective alternative, and then people were reselling them for more because everyone was buying them all. Sleepy Willis says scanning is the only way to upload an image of a card you're attempting to sell or showcase. I would kind of disagree. I prefer, I think this depends largely on what level of selling you're doing. If you're only selling a handful of cards, getting a scanner for those handful of cards is probably a waste of money, especially if you're going for like a top tier scanner. I know there's certain ones that work really well, especially with the cases and everything else. I'd prefer just under a nice bright light and from different angles so you can see the surface flaws a little bit better. And if you're only listing a handful of cards, it doesn't take that much time to take, you know, a picture from each angle. Maybe I should make a video on that. But I've never had complaints in terms of condition, because that way you can show everything that's wrong with the card. So they say, to me, there's nothing more frustrating than asking for more pictures of the card when a decent scanner would have done the trick to begin with. So yeah, like asking for more pictures. If you're not taking enough pictures, or your pictures aren't clear, or you're in like a dark basement closet and you can't see, you're gonna get returns. So do yourself a favor and just, any light over top of it, especially like a nice white LED light, and take a few extra pictures. Like if you're uploading from your phone, you can easily snap them all in a row, and it doesn't really take any time. Also, someday the red, blue, yellow versions of the game, sealed and graded, will be worth more than the cards. This is more a prediction than an unpopular opinion, I think. But I don't know which cards you mean. If you're talking like first edition base, I don't think so. But with the Charizard and the Blastoise and the Pikachu, Red Cheeks Pikachu maybe. So maybe the Pikachu versus yellow version, you'll see that happen. All right. NP Pokemon says custom PSA labels are the ugliest, most disgusting smear of a mark ever to be seen on a card. All respect for Aoki and Logan for their recently revealed custom collection break labels, but damn, I hate them. Good thing is that they will split up the available market somewhat. Any new cards from Logan's boxes will remain separate with the degenerate mark. I don't know. I don't really care what if they want to put like a piece of Logan's hair in there or whatever from the break. Like, it doesn't affect me in any way. If somebody really wants to pay extra for the mark on the label, then by all means go to town. If you're the biggest fan of that, maybe a cool throwback if you're one of the people that were part of the break and you have that and it shows on the case. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's other things that the PSA could be worrying about rather than that. But I mean, they gotta do something different at some point to keep up, or to innovate. And I guess that was it. British Bidoof Corporation says a new one struck me last night. The artwork of the Shinies and Shining Legends is very meh. Just looking at the Neo Bunch, how atmospheric Mewtwo is, or Kabuto's majestic sunset silhouette, and then you've got SL Mew in a dull pose with some clip art in the back, or really proportioned Rayquaza with another MS Paint special behind it. Makes them all the more disappointing when you remember how epic Mewtwo looks from the same set. So I think Mewtwo was kind of like a taste of that alternate art, full art. You can't make every card in the set look like Mewtwo. I don't think it would kind of take away from the specialness that's that. And those being more like the baby shinies that we're seeing now. I don't know. I think a lot of, even in the Hidden Fates and Shining Fates, the shinies are a little bit less special than they could be. But I mean, that's just going to leave room for future things. The secret rares now from the playable cards from the previous set, in our Sword and Shield sets with the shiny Pokemon, are pretty cool. I think those are a little bit overlooked. With everything else going on with the alternate arts and everything else. But yeah, I don't know. The recolors, I mean, people eat it up. People loved Hidden Fates, Shining Fates. Shining Fates is still available. I think maybe they overshot the print on that a little bit. and with the Pokemon being mostly the newest generation, maybe a little bit popular for that reason compared to Hidden Fates being all the Kanto boys primarily. But yeah, also the baby shinies in Shining Fates they way overdid that. Way too many. I haven't even looked at them recently, but that's going to be still quite a grind to pick those all up, and I have been or had been buying them as singles. So Squirtle 1000 says, I'm not sure if this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel compelled to get this off my chest. Grimer has been wrongly accused for years. Grimer really isn't looking up her skirt. The angle is totally off. Grimer would have to be even closer to see up the skirt. To me, it looks like Grimer is looking at the girl's face. They could be making eye contact, or Grimer simply might be curious about the first human it sees as it emerges from the sewer. Someone at TPC had an overactive imagination when they decided to modify this card. So, I don't know, like, the girl's in motion, and it almost looks like there's like an anticipation, I think, that it's going to get close enough. But we could also argue that Grimer is like coming out of the dark sewer, and maybe he can't see what's going on at all. So it doesn't matter where his eyeballs are pointed. He might be blinded or like flashbanged from the sun. we'll give him that. All right, Mr. Parker says, hopefully it doesn't get me kicked, but efour is over moderated. Definitely note that no one has liked this comment, so maybe we'll show some support. We're gonna be brave souls, and we're gonna risk it for the biscuit. We're gonna like it. Niche says, unpopular opinion, you can't have nostalgia for something you never previously had. You can like things from a time period. You can like 90s cards. You can like 2000s cards. But if you never owned, interacted with them personally, it's literally not nostalgia. Stop calling it nostalgia. You can't have nostalgia for base anything if you never had one or played with one earlier in your life. So, I don't know. There's weird, like, credentials here that don't really make sense, because there's a lot of cards that I didn't own or interact with. Like, I never had the base set Charizard, even in Unlimited when I was a kid. We were very limited on how many packs we got, and the holos were pretty hard to get. Not to mention, even when base set came out, where I live at least, it was very hard to even get a pack. So when you didn't get your one pack and you didn't get the Charizard, it was kind of a shame. But it doesn't mean that other kids didn't have one and you saw that and wanted it. So I think that's equally a form of nostalgia. If you were around the cards, or even if you weren't around for base set but you had base set, I guess. So I mean, I don't know. You can still see the artwork. Still other people have it. I don't know. There's just let people nostalge over whatever they want to nostalge. All right, black labels will become for modern what PSA 10s are for vintage, considering the increase in print quality and the increased awareness of the value of mint Pokemon cards, which are leading to crazy pop report numbers. This is only logical succession. You heard it here first. I don't think so. I mean, you could just be working at BGS. Or maybe that's the play. Work at BGS and then no longer work at BGS, but then get an exponential amount of black labels. I think in around the black label level, there's no opinion that's going to justify whether it's a black label or not. As we've seen, there's been black labels and it's painfully off-center, everything else. SM Pratt says, people complaining about Logan Paul are more toxic than Logan Paul. So, I mean, I think you can be critical of Logan Paul and his intentions. I don't think his intentions are purely the fact that he just loves Pokemon so much that he wants to do it. It's certainly a way for him to make money. Should you spend every waking moment being concerned about how Logan Paul is going to drive prices up or anything else? I think he probably played a role in it, but not as much as people think or would like to think. Just the pandemic in general is kind of I guess it would have snowballed off onto the other streamers and stuff like that a little bit, but that probably would have happened regardless. So I don't know. Whether you think he's a good person or not is up to you. But complaining that he's ruining the hobby is, I think, a waste of time. Out of the list, people that complain about scalpers, etc., I would agree as well. I think you need to not concern yourself with anyone that's reselling product, that's going to Target and picking stuff up and putting it in their car and taking a picture on the passenger seat. Those people go away when the market gets back to a more normal state, whether that's through more printing and or less people. Like a lot of people that get into Pokemon are extreme temporary interest, and it's not too often that you see someone get into Pokemon and last for more than a year in terms of collecting and everything else. So if you made it, if you're collecting and you made it past a full year, you are the exception. Muck says, if you categorically only like cards you already know from your childhood, nostalgia, I have to assume that you also only listen to one genre of music, always order the same food in the restaurant, and are a terribly boring person to have sex with. I don't know if you need to be having sex with any of these people. Just be to find out. But I don't know. See, I think this is a point where you don't necessarily have to be fully invested into enjoying every single aspect of Pokemon, because it's almost impossible to do so with the amount of games and the cards and the show and the movies, and I don't think anyone really has time to cover all of those aspects, especially with the side series games and everything like that. So it just depends how much time and interest somebody wants to put into it. If they are only going to collect one thing, or they only want to dabble in Pokemon, that's perfectly fine. And if they only want the cards from their childhood, which is probably where they're going to start, then that's fine too. If they just want to have that collection complete and set that aside and that's their goal, great. That's on them. So I don't think you should claim to be the ultimate Pokemon master, but it's up to you how you want to enjoy the hobby. And I think people don't realize that. If you're not enjoying the hobby, then why are you in the hobby? It's not a good way to make money. It's not compared to other means. There's much better ways to make money if you don't enjoy the hobby. And other things that you could be doing with your time. Time is precious. Don't collect Pokemon cards, or don't do Pokemon things if you don't like Pokemon. Parker, Mr. Parker says Poketubers are trash. So I think this is probably an unpopular opinion, just because I feel like there's always some sort of Poketuber that someone is into, depending on what your taste is, what you're looking for. If you're just going out like based on Poketubers that are hype channels that open cards and have open mouth thumbnails and everything like that, and you don't like that, there's plenty of other options where people are doing more stuff on the market side. There's people that are playing the card game. Whatever your taste is, I think you just need to find the right thing. Or maybe you just hate videos in general, in which case I guess that would be an unpopular opinion. If you don't like anything Pokemon video related. Parker, Mr. Parker again says there needs to be more legendary Pokemon based on mythology. I think that's always cool. I love the not necessarily legendary Pokemon, but just Pokemon in general that are based off some sort of mythology is always a cool thing. Look at my favorite Pokemon, Mawile being a prime example. All right, Lisa saying people seem to get too worked up when they hear the word reprint. I would agree. I think people probably get more worked up when they hear reprint if they're trying to do some sort of crazy investment thing. And I just, unless you're looking to really enjoy the product and you need it right that second and you think it's worth the extra money, I don't think you should ever pay more than MSRP for new product. So even right now where it's hard to find that, if you're patient, you will find it at market price. Even Walmart used to not be a good price compared to like a local game store or buying online from Amazon or wherever else. And then even in Canada, Toys R Us is a better price than that. and then GameStop or EB Games. I'm not sure about in the US, but at least here, that's a better price, once again, than your Toys R Us. So I don't like. You can see Battle Styles. It was hard to get when it came out. Now you can get it. Vivid Voltage, like the Steel product, shot up like crazy. Now there's Vivid Voltage on the shelf here. It's affordable again because they're going to print these new sets. Anything Sword and Shield and newer is going to be printed because that's standard right now. So just basically having an understanding that anything in the modern times can be reprinted. I mean, I guess anything can be reprinted. There's no reason why they can't, but they definitely probably won't reprint anything that's not in standard. So knowing a little bit about the card game is certainly helpful in this, but like, don't buy something that's a year old or less than a year old that's going to most obviously be reprinted. If you're just looking to invest or whatever, like, don't buy a Vivid Voltage box for $500 or whatever they went up to. And there's nothing stopping people from doing that if they really wanted to open one, and they don't want to wait for the reprint or the second wave of some of these newer sets, like Evolving Skies. The prices are pretty high right now. I know Walmart in Canada has Elite Trainer boxes listed, so I mean, there's an option for at least reasonable priced product. And the market has died down a little bit. It's a little less crazy than it was at one point in time. But there's going to be more Evolving Skies. I'm sure there'll be more like Chilling Reign you can find pretty readily around here. So I don't know. Just be patient. Don't jump on anything that's overpriced, that's brand new, unless you really want to spend the extra money for enjoyment. I mean, that's packs in general. Don't open packs if you're looking to make money, because they don't make money. I mean, you might open one pack and you get a big hit from it, and yeah, you made money on that pack, but overall, if there was any set in history of sealed product that had the expected value higher than the price of the box itself, people would just open it and sell it. They would get that enjoyment of opening, plus make money on top of that, so it would only make sense. Don't make money by opening Pokemon cards unless you have some sort of other means to advertise or make videos that actually have revenue coming in. I guess you could make money that way. But yeah, for the most part, if you're just straight up opening and there isn't some sort of gimmick, you're losing money. So you better be enjoying it. Niche says, you know, theme decks are criminally underrated just because the contents aren't random. This is our last one for the day. I think so as well. But I think my reasoning is probably different than yours. I like the fact that when they have theme deck exclusive cards in them, so where they have the shattered hollows, or non-hollow versions of hollows, stuff like that, is really cool to me. I wish it was a little bit easier to keep track of a lot of the modern ones. It is a challenge in itself to know which ones are theme deck exclusives, and sometimes you gotta look them up. There's a couple times where I was putting cards in my binders, and I accidentally had like a non-hollow version of a hollow in its place instead of at the back of the binder where I usually put variants. So keep an eye on that. I don't know. Theme decks are good, I guess. They're good too for people starting out that are playing. A lot of those new products with the really playable cards in them, like your Pika Rom and your ADP decks and stuff like that, they sat on the shelves for quite a while, even though they were good playable cards. And a great way if you were looking to build a budget deck, or not even necessarily a budget deck, a pretty strong deck on a budget. So they do a good job of keeping that stuff affordable. Usually if stuff gets out of control or expensive, they'll have some promo version of it that that's affordable for those people. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Join the Discord. Leave a comment if you want. Leave an unpopular opinion for me. And I'll see you next time.